Hello, everyone. I thought I would talk a little bit about crediting today, especially with a focus on what is the intention behind crediting. It's a big question that's come up a lot of times throughout my career, and I've had different thoughts about it for different projects, and I've also seen a bunch of different approaches to it. So I just wanted to comment a little bit about what I've seen and what I think and how it all comes down to intention. So I will begin with live shows. Live shows, I remember when I was working on a live show with one of my friends. His name is Shane Cobalt, and we were working on a show called Modern Magic. And Modern Magic is also the name of a book by a magician named Professor Hoffman, who invented all this magic and put it in this book. Some of the magic was from Modern Magic. Some of it was new, some of it was from other places. But we were very much focused on presenting this idea that we had a consultant on the show and a magic advisor, magic designer, I would say is the more correct term. Jim Steinmeier, who, if you know, who's an incredible magic designer, illusion builder, and the idea was to feature his name. And for us, the intention, at least what I can ascertain, the intention of that was to show people and to acknowledge Jim as well, but to show people that we're working with this incredible magic designer who has designed the magic in our show. Not every piece, mind you, but some very important pieces in the show. And I was totally okay with that. Jim Steinmeier has put out a lot of work in terms of books, in terms of different things that he's created for the magic world. And because his body of work is so vast, I never saw any issue with using his name as magic consultant, magic designer in the credits, because I just thought, if people look up Jim Steinmeier, they're going to see his incredible work. They're not going to just see a specific trick. It's not like Jim Steinmeier has only invented, one trick. Like if you type in Jim Steinmeier, you're only going to see one trick. Although probably you'll see that he invented the disappearance of the Statue of Liberty, which is, it's something that David Copperfield did that was designed by Jim Steinmeier. But it was not like the only thing that you see if you type in Jim Steinmeier. So I always thought if it's in terms of a show, and now, I'm going to go into TV shows because this is something where I've seen a different approach. But I would say in terms of a show, it's if you want to put a magic designer's name or a magic consultant, you could absolutely do that. My only issue is, and this comes from the world of video, which I'm going to hold this thought for a little bit because I want to go into TV. So on TV, oh, and by the way, about live shows, before we go into TV, most people do not credit whoever has created the magic in their shows. They're just performing the live shows. Unless there's a presentation in which they say, this trick is from this amazing magician, and, they go into a story, they don't generally credit the magicians who have created the magic and the techniques that you see in their show. And I think that's totally appropriate because, my idea behind live shows sort of reflects this across all mediums. Do you want people after the show to be able to search up that magician and search up that name of the trick? That's another thing. I very rarely ever use the name of the magic trick in terms of crediting. Like in a show, I'll never call a trick its actual name for the most part. Just because with the internet, you don't want somebody to just type that in and then see an expose online. Which a lot of people say don't worry about. People are not going to be Googling your magic, but in my experience, and also talking to great magicians. If you are doing good magic that's fooling people, that's, blowing their minds, they do want to know how it's done. Even if they don't actually know how it's done, there's a curiosity impulse that can be satiated through this device. This device can tell them everything they want to know the instant they want to know it, which is the only reason why I changed the name. So, on TV shows, I can use different magicians as, sort of reference for this. But if we're talking of the magic specials, for instance, you will usually see a magic designer or a magic consultant, head magic consultant, magic advisors. They will prioritize them in different names. Again, they generally don't put the name of the effects in the credit, which I think is the right approach. I would not put the name of the effects in a show, or in, whether that's a live show or a TV show or an internet, show. Just because you don't want people to be Googling those names of the tricks and finding out how they're done, or, seeing, just seeing where they can learn it. So what they do for TV, what I've seen, generally speaking, and I think it's totally fine and works. Again, what's the intention? We're going to get to the intention, but they'll put the name of the person who created the trick, or if they're using sort of new material, they'll give that person a credit in the credit in the show. They'll they'll ask them for permission if they can use this piece of magic in the show, and in exchange they'll give them money and possibly a credit, or just a credit, depending on the budget. What is the intention behind that? I think for a lot of magicians, they are very happy to have that credit on a TV show. Why? It's just something that they can add for their resume. It's very useful for legal documentation. Let's say they were applying for some visa, or they just want to build up their professional resume. It does help if you have some TV credits. Your name, if you are credited on a TV show as well, every single TV show at the end, they run the credits. All those names get put into databases such as IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, which people can search up and they can see, this magician is a legitimate consultant. He has, he's listed on IMDb. Here's some of the projects he's worked on. So it's just very useful to have those as credits. So again, what's the intention behind crediting those magicians? Is it so their name is on TV? Maybe. I think that's a part of it. It's nice to be part of something that's documented forever. This is the creator. But for the creator themselves, it's just something really nice to have for their professional resume. Now, mind you, there's a lot of magicians who are not credited. A lot of magicians who are dead, or the magic is just too old. The magician's just doing generic type of magic techniques that most magicians know or do. They don't credit the magician who first published that technique or that trick. You will not see that, generally speaking, in TV shows. Those magicians who have created a long time ago, who are dead, and it's in the past, you generally, I can't remember a case where you'll see their name listed in the credits of a TV show or a live show. Sometimes you might. I haven't really seen it, but the crediting that you do see on TV is, generally speaking, for consultants and advisors who are alive, who are creating. Possibly they are releasing this trick either through a company or on their own independently, and it is something that they sell or they teach. So it might be a marketing thing for them as well. And maybe their intention is not only to have that credit, but to build prestige up for the trick in order to sell it and monetize it, because some magicians make their living from selling magic to other magicians. So that is also an additional reason why they would want to be credited in the show as a sales funnel, sales mechanism. Finally, I have seen a lot of things on the internet. I'll just say from my own perspective, if I were to teach something, generally speaking, I would put the credit. There's some exceptions, and I'm going to get to the exceptions. But one thing that I've seen, and this has come up with some Korean magicians and some Spanish magicians, but some of them are making videos of performances, and they will exhaustively put all the credits at the end of their videos. So they will perform a card trick, and they will not only put up the name of the creator of the trick, but the person who's created the variation of the trick, the name of the inventor of all the different techniques that you've just seen performed in execution of the trick. So all this is credited. And I remember when I first saw this, I was kind of, taken aback by it. Like, oh my goodness, why are they putting all this information out there? And I think there's two reasons. I mean, we have to, again, look at the intention. Maybe, and this just is a maybe their audience is magicians. And if that is the case, their intention is, we have a history in the magic community, very strong crediting history, not all the time, but most of the time, of putting people's names, giving credit where credit is due. And so I've seen that for videos that are going to magicians, the intended audience is magicians, just doing that as a form of respect, and this is what the trick is, this is what the techniques are. And I think if your audience is magicians, that's fine. The other thing that I could see that could drive that intention, some magicians just really have a I would say conception of magic where magic is an art form built around techniques and a strong history of building upon techniques. And it's not that it's not about mystery, but there's some magicians who have taken the artistic choice to put the magicians who have created the piece and created the technique as part of their, either it's their video, or if they're doing a show, in the program, they will have those magicians and their books listed, and the different places that they teach those techniques, and all the names of the techniques, the names of the tricks. And again, I think if you're doing that from an artistic standpoint, and your intention is, I want people to know about the art that I love and know about where I'm performing, what I'm performing, where it has come from, that is totally appropriate. So again, so much what I'm seeing, it's not right or wrong, but it's more of what is the intention behind it. I'm of a different, and by the way, I understand that intention, I respect it. Generally speaking, it's not for me, because I find I would prefer people to, I would prefer at this point in my conception of magic for the magic to be more mysterious. I don't want people to know where everything's from. And it's not that you're silently taking the credit for everything. It's just you're creating that magical atmosphere. So again, it's not you're standing on the shoulders of giants and just covering up all their work and claiming it as your own, but it's rather you're just for that experience and that conception that you're trying to build in people's minds, that atmosphere of magic. You don't necessarily want them to know the name of every single trick and every single technique. So that is what I will say about that, and that's sort of where I'm personally at. I don't want to put the name of every single trick and technique in my performances. When it comes to teaching, I would say if you're teaching magic to magicians, it is important to have that. That's just sort of a historical precedent. It's not really followed all the times, and sometimes even in modernly, people are really not well read, and so they just put stuff out that's been published. But I've also intentionally not put credits in some things. For example, I have just created a series of pitch books, um, which are little souvenir booklets, um, and one of them teaches card tricks. Actually, well, two of them teach things. One of them is a book called Cartomancy, which teaches the meaning of the cards and how to read them. And the second book is called Learn Card Tricks, which is a little booklet on card tricks. In both of these, I do not really give any credit to where credit is due. In terms of both the meanings, the cartomancy booklet, the traditions are more or less traditional. I add my own thing, I change some things, but it's more or less built upon traditional meanings. I do not credit those. I also do not credit the tricks, the ideas of the tricks, and the techniques that I present in my Learn Card Tricks book. Again, this is a small little booklet, a pitch booklet that is intended for the public, and that is an artistic choice that I made. I'm sure that it's not a choice that every single magician is going to be in love with, but my defense of that is in the pitch books that I have studied from the great magicians, they often teach magic or teach secrets of magic. You know, Howard Thurston's 400 tricks that you can do, and you know, there's a bunch of these. There's a bunch of these little, 100 Houdini tricks. You know, there's a bunch of these booklets and books that go out to the public, and they don't necessarily put all the credits in what they're teaching. And part of that, I think, is a lack of interest in the credits. Part of that is it's not really magicians, so they feel like it's okay not to put the credits. But the other thing that I found quite interesting is they see it as sort of a business decision. They're trying to create a product that is a sales funnel. That is what a pitch booklet is. A pitch booklet is something that gives you value, but leads you to a sales funnel where you can engage in more things. So the way that I do it personally, and that I think is okay, my intention is for these little booklets to be an introduction to this new person who's new in the world of magic. I don't give the credits because my intention is for the people who are truly interested to go through a funnel, and then once they get through that funnel, they're learning magic with me through more of a serious course or program or some other serious thing that I'm creating for magicians, like this channel, for instance, where I would get way more into depth with the credits, with the history. But again, it's all a question of who is the audience and what is the intention. And that is sort of my thinking on it at this very moment, but that may change. That might certainly change. Maybe I will say moving forward, maybe I'll change my mind and say, I want to put credits and everything. But right now, that's not where I'm at personally. That's not where I'm at personally. And again, the intention is not to claim everything as my own, and that shouldn't be your intention either, but it's more of what is the experience that you're creating for people. And I think this is one of the most important things in magic, and actually in life, which is outside of the actual action that you're taking, what is the intention behind it? And it's something that I've become more conscious of, just being more intentional in what I'm doing and thinking, why am I doing this? What is the reason that I'm doing this? So now when I am looking at crediting, for instance, we're all inspired by many things. Does that mean that we put the credits for everything? Does George Lucas, when he's, rolling the credits at the end of Star Wars, does he put that he's been inspired by all these World War II films about, fighter jets and, different air battles? No, he doesn't put that in, but it's very obvious because it's done in a tribute way. When I've created certain products and projects they're created in certain ways to be tributes, and some of those things are invisible credits. I would say they're like Easter eggs in the actual material or project themselves. So for the people who do know and care and really want to have more of a deeper involvement, they can interface with what I'm creating at a deeper level and see all these little things and go search for all these little Easter eggs and nuggets. But I don't always put the credits for everything in everything. So again, to round this off, I think I'm sort of getting to where I am. Just the point that I want to make. And the point that I want to make is this: when you are thinking about crediting, how you should credit, when you should credit, look at your audience and look at the experience and what is your intention. What is the intention for them when they're having that experience? Is that intention for them to know that this is something that's been created and, maybe created by another artist, another magician, another whatever? Or is the intention for them to experience it and sort of not know where it's coming from, or maybe not even know that it comes from somewhere? Maybe it's just a spontaneous thing. Maybe it's a once in a lifetime thing, a coincidence, just something that could have never happened, that was never planned. So again, what is your intention behind the magic, behind the project, behind the different thing that you're putting out? And once you've sort of made up your mind about the intention, feel free to credit the way that you want to. I will say that no matter how you credit, people will be upset with you in the magic world. Some people will think that you credit too much and they'll think it's over excessive. I certainly was taken aback when I saw magicians in performances crediting every single technique and trick. I thought it was way too much. I didn't necessarily agree with that until I saw their intention, and I saw sort of what they were trying to do, which, although I don't agree for myself, I can certainly respect it in others. So again, figure out your intention, and when you do credit, just credit knowing that always people will think that you're doing too much or too little, and be ready to sort of explain your philosophy behind the crediting. Even as I was writing one of these little booklets, I wrote in a trick that was very similar to a trick that my friend taught and described, and I only realized it after, because sometimes we're just influenced by people, and so anyways, I showed it to him and I said, hey man, this looks, I wrote this, I can erase it if you want, I can give you the credit. I'm not really, putting credits in there, but if you want me to, I'm more than happy to give you a credit in this, because it's very similar to what you're doing. And, he was sort of okay with it. It was not, a big deal to him. At least that's what I understood. He didn't really care. But that is something that if I was doing something that was too close to somebody else that I know, or, but, that's a question of permission, not really credit. So I don't want to get off too much on a tangent. Just want to stay focused on the crediting. So, as you do credit, always think about 1, the audience, 2, the intention, and good luck. Let me know how it goes in the comments. Let me know on your thoughts on crediting. If you are doing a show, or you're doing performances, or you're a magician writing magic or filming magic, do you put credits? What are the credits that you decide to put? What are the credits that you leave out? What things do you just think are just, oh, this is just a generic thing, I don't feel like I need to put credits? I would like to know your thoughts on crediting and where you draw the line on credits that you include and credits that you leave out, because we're always making choices on the credits that we include and the credits that we leave out. It's just, we sort of just have these unconscious justifications for them. So I would like to know what you're doing, why that is, and hopefully just changing that process so that it's more of a conscious process, so that we just gain more insight and understanding as to what we're doing and why we're doing it. Because I think the more we understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, we are more easily able as artists, as magicians, to go into the direction that we want to be going into. And with that, I'm going to wish you a wonderful day, night, wherever you are in the world, and talk to you again very soon.